One of the most brutal bombings in the history of mankind was during the final stage of World War II. The United States detonated 2 nuclear weapons over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9, 1945 respectively. The 2 bombings killed about 130,000 to 230,000 people, mostly civilians. This remains the only use of nuclear weapon in the history of armed conflict. Let's take a look at the events prior to the bombings, and the reason for using such a deadly attack on the Japanese. This is where it all started. The attack on Pearl Harbor. United States of America entered the World War after the Japanese Navy Air Service conducted a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, where the U.S. naval base is located in Hawaii. The attack commenced at 7:48 a.m. Hawaiian time. The following day, December 8, Congress declared war on Japan. On December 11, Germany and Italy each declared war on the U.S., which responded with a declaration of war against Germany and Italy. This was the start of the downfall of the Japanese, as they conducted this surprise airstrike on the United States. Physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer becomes director of the top-secret Manhattan Project, a U.S. government program formed to secretly build and test an atomic bomb, which began on October of 1941, 2 months before United States entered the World War. The project was originally began to counter Nazi Germany. The creation of an atomic bomb began in 1941 when Franklin Roosevelt was persuaded by Albert Einstein to fund the project. When Roosevelt died on April 12, 1945, the bomb had not been tested and scientists were not in agreement about its possible effects. With the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Harry Truman, a man known for his common sense and decisiveness, became president. On April 24, he was given detailed information about the atomic bomb. $2 million had been spent on the project, but at this point it had still not been tested. Truman was not yet aware of its capabilities, and he was thinking about an invasion of Japan. On May 7, Germany agrees to unconditional surrender, ending the war in Europe, but the war with the Japanese raged in the Pacific. American airstrikes were conducted in the following month of June, leaving many Japanese homeless. The Japanese were still not willing to surrender. Americans started thinking of alternatives influenced by the terrific number of American casualties in the island war with Japan. On June 18, Truman started advising to plan an invasion of Japan. The invasion would begin on November 1, first targeting the island of Kyushu and then Honshu in the following March. He also, however, considered the possibility of dropping the ultimate weapon, the first atomic bomb. The American death toll was rising rapidly in the Pacific. On July 15, the Potsdam Conference began in a suburb of Berlin, and at the meeting were Winston Churchill, Joseph Stalin, and Harry Truman. During that conference, the United States successfully detonates the world's first atomic bomb at the Trinity test site in the desert of New Mexico. It was found to have the explosive power of 15,000 to 20,000 tons of TNT. Messages to President Truman, set in code, indicated that the testing had been a huge success. On last week of July, Truman decided to use the bomb. The conference proceeded to issue the Potsdam Declaration, explaining that the Japanese must surrender unconditionally or there would be total destruction. The announcement did not mention the fate of Emperor Hirohito. The Japanese government, hopelessly deadlocked in political arguing, made it clear they would ignore the message. This decision sealed the fate of the citizens of Hiroshima. Hiroshima was Japan's seventh largest city, and it had not been bombed as much as the other major cities of Japan. It had factories that made war materials, and it was also the headquarters of the Japanese Second Army. The second choice for a target was Kakura, an industrial center and arsenal, or Nagasaki, a port city. On July 31, Truman ordered the military to drop the bomb as soon as the weather would permit. On August 6, the first atomic bomb to be used as a weapon is dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. At approximately 8:15 a.m., nicknamed Little Boy, the bomb is released from the Enola Gay, the aircraft that dropped the bomb. 70,000 men, women, children lost lives instantly. In the months to follow, another 50,000 died of injuries and radiation poisoning. Thus the world's first nuclear attack was carried out, and this was only the first of the two deadly bombings. Three days later, on August 9, at 11:02 a.m., a second bomb, this time an implosion bomb costing $400 million to develop, was dropped on Nagasaki. It has been estimated that this bomb killed an additional 70,000 people. The bomb, nicknamed Fat Man, was targeting Kakura but eventually shifted to alternate city, Nagasaki, due to cloud cover. Ironically, Emperor Hirohito had already decided to surrender before the second bomb was even dropped. On August 15, 1945, Japan surrenders, ending World War II. American soldiers celebrated, downed all the beer they could find, and danced upon hearing that the bomb had been dropped on Japan. They were relieved that they would survive the war. It was expected that another Fat Man atomic bomb was ready for use on August 19, with 3 more in September and a further 3 in October. A second Little Boy bomb would not be available until December 1945. The survivors, known as Hibakusha, sought relief from their injuries. However, 90% of all medical personnel were killed or disabled, and the remaining medical supplies quickly ran out. Many survivors began to notice the effects of exposure to the bomb's radiation. Their symptoms ranged from nausea, bleeding and loss of hair, to death. Flash burns, a susceptibility to leukemia, cataracts and malignant tumors were some of the other effects. Today, Hiroshima is inhabited by about 1 million people. A peace memorial park and museum now occupies the site of the bomb epicenter. It includes Genbaku Dome, named a World Heritage Site, as the only structure in that area to withstand the blast that leveled nearly 70% of the city buildings and infrastructure. Every year on August 6, the day the bomb was dropped, Hiroshima holds a ceremony in Peace Memorial Park, where the mayor reads his annual peace declaration. Determined to fulfill its mission as an international peace culture city, Hiroshima strives to rid the world of nuclear weapons. The Hibakusha who are still alive are becoming quite elderly, averaging over 70 years old. Sadly, some are confined to hospitals due to after effects, and many live in fear, wondering when the radiation might strike again. Although it is painful for them to tell their stories, many Hibakusha are willing to do so in order to help the next generation understand the importance of peace. People can live in Hiroshima and Nagasaki today since there is extremely low levels of radioactivity. Hopefully, these kinds of deadly and horrible events can be avoided in the future, where humanity can live peacefully. This was InfoDope presenting to you the events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos.